Hey Adobe Live family, welcome back. We're so excited to be here. It's Brittany. For those of you that don't know me, I'm here with Mike from Agorapulse, and we're talking about all things leveraging brand advocacy. This is going to be such a juicy live stream, and it's a little different than our other streams. We're going to be starting off by talking about what exactly brand advocacy is, why you need it, and all the juicy stuff. But before we get into it, I'm going to hand it over to Mike. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, thanks, Brittany. Thanks all of you for tuning in. I'm Mike Alton. I'm the chief storyteller at Agorapulse, which is a social media management platform if you're not familiar. And that's one of the tools we're going to be showing off today. We're going to be showing off Adobe Express and having a lot of fun talking about what advocacy even is and why you should be thinking about it for your business.
I feel like this is something that all of us need in our lives, and whether you're a small business or a big brand, there's going to be something in this conversation for everybody. So as we get ready to start off with some thought leadership and really just talking at a high level of what brand advocacy is, I'm going to start off by asking you, Mike, what is the difference between brand advocacy and influencer marketing?
It's a really interesting question because there's a lot of similarity and overlap between them. Influencer marketing is typically external influencers, right? Somebody that you might pay to endorse your brand and say something about your brand or your products on social media, whereas advocacy implies, first of all, that there's a really deeper relationship there, but it also includes employees, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be an outside influencer that you're paying. It could be an employee like me of the brand doing something on behalf of the brand on their personal channels. What's your take? Is that different from what you think?
I think you really hit the nail on the head, and I think the biggest thing is really looking at the word advocacy as a whole, and you're really advocating for this brand. You're being that brand's biggest MVP, and I think that really, when you look at it that way, is the biggest thing. And I think we were talking about this before, and you have some stats on word of mouth referral.
Oh my gosh!
That really, when you are talking about a brand to your friends, to your followers, really, like at this point, we're talking about our audience, our community, and you are vouching for a brand, they are going to listen to you because they already know, like, and trust you, right?
That's exactly right. 92% of individuals trust word of mouth recommendations, making it one of the trustiest, if that's a word, trust-rich forms of advertising. And one of the other stats that I pulled that just blew me away, 76% of individuals surveyed said that they're more likely to trust content shared by normal people than content shared by brands.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I also feel like it's insane, but it doesn't surprise me because we've seen this firsthand, right? So with that being said, who would you say has done brand-wise like the most exceptional job at either running a brand advocacy campaign or having brand advocates?
Well, this is going to sound staged, and it's not. But one of my favorite examples is actually Adobe. With their Adobe Max conference that they ran last year, they're probably doing the same thing this year, where they brought in external influencers to attend the event, and they had a collection of 5 or 6 of them, Goldie Chan, Lee Odin, and a bunch of others. And not only did they bring them to the event and ask them, hey, talk on social media about this event, but they also encouraged them to talk to each other. And that's one of the really nuanced, brilliant forms of advocacy, when you can get your advocates engaging with each other's posts, helping to amplify that social content, having great comments and commentary on each other's posts. It was an amazing masterclass, really, on how to do advocacy from a brand perspective.
I love that so much, and I feel like, again, it's going to sound a little bit biased. I've been working with Adobe for a little while now on, I want to say, the community leader side, and the way that Adobe does such a great job with really making you feel like you are a part of the family. And, although I'm not an employee of Adobe, like, being part of the family, that's what keeps me here and keeps me excited about everything that we're working on all the time. And I think that's what brand advocacy is, right?
Yeah, they're creating that authentic feeling, right, within you. But why do you think that's so important?
Authenticity, I feel like, when we're talking about brand advocacy specifically, like, you're not going to talk about a brand that you don't know, like, love, and trust. And if you are, I feel like you're really jeopardizing like your own self and the way that your audience trusts you, right? Because people really do read through your content. And I think if you are just looking to accept maybe a partnership with a brand because it pays well, then a lot of the times your audience can read right through that and they stop engaging, they stop paying attention to your content, and it feels staged, right? And it feels like it's not something that's real. And the best, I want to say, campaigns or partnerships between brands and brand advocates are the ones that they're already using the products in their everyday life. They're already loving this brand so much. And it's just a way for them to work together on a deeper level.
Right. That's absolutely right. That's why that statistic is so powerful, that word of mouth, because people feel they can trust other people. And if they lose that trust, then the whole game is shot. And that's what brands can do, is they can leverage the relationship that individuals have with other people, real people.
I love that so much. I feel like I couldn't have said it better myself, honestly. So speaking of brand advocacy, what steps would you take if you were to start a brand advocacy campaign or program from scratch?
So the first thing is to think about who in your industry, who in your niche already has that audience. And this doesn't have to be mega celebrities. In fact, for most brands, micro influencers are the best way to go. People who have like maybe 1,000, a couple thousand followers. It doesn't have to be a massive community. But when you look at them, you can see that they're talking to individuals who are truly aligned with who you want to talk to. As a brand, they're really engaging with that influencer, and there's an opportunity there for you to step in as a brand and create a really strong individual relationship. That's what I've been doing at Agorapulse for years, is building up those individual relationships with social media professionals in the industry, right? And using those to then in turn reach their audiences, leveraging their relationships.
I love that. So it really does start from, I guess, listening to what is already being said in your community and seeing who is already loving your product so much, right?
Right. And we're using community in that broader sense, right? People who are on social media, whether it's X, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, it doesn't really matter at this point, right? That's all part of a global community of people that could be potential customers for your brand. They're using other products maybe, but they're interested in those kinds of things and they want to hear from you or people like you, Brittany.
I love that. I love that so much. So before we get into, I want to say, the fun design portion of this live stream and really showing you the beast that Agorapulse is and how amazing it can be for you and your business, let me ask you one more thing, which is, what steps would you take as a brand if, let's say, you've worked with influencers and you have this connection already, but you want to transition them into being brand advocates?
Yeah, well, it starts with having conversations. You need to have that upfront conversation with that individual and say, we would love for you to be an official advocate or ambassador or influencer. The words are somewhat interchangeable at this point because it doesn't really matter as long as there's a relationship there. And you need to be able to quantify and document what it is as the brand you're able to do for them. Maybe that's just free service. Maybe it's commissions. I mean, there's a lot of different options. But think that through and then start to have those conversations. Not everyone's going to be open to it at the same time. Not everyone's going to be ready to take that next step with their personal brand. They may not even have thought about being an influencer or an advocate if we're talking about external. Now, internal, you have all kinds of employees, and there the first step is a little bit different because you're not going to be necessarily compensating them for posting their personal channels. But what you are going to want to do is still have those conversations and provide training and maybe some incentives internally, like an Amazon gift card for your most vocal and engaged advocate would be a really cool thing that you could do. But they need to know how to use LinkedIn or Instagram, some of the best channels for advocacy, as an employee, and they need to be okay with it. That is a crucial part. You cannot force your employees to post to social media on your behalf.
I love that so much, and I think it's really underrated. I feel like, for those of you that don't know, I also run a marketing agency, and I have a team that works with me, and I would have never thought about using advocacy with my team. So that's so cool, and I think that approach to things is very unique and something that not enough people are doing, myself included.
Oh, yeah, and there's so many different ways that you can use advocacy. I recently did a webinar, in fact, you'll find it on YouTube, 14 different use cases for advocacy. It's not just promoting an event, it's not just promoting a blog post. The next time you've got a great customer success story, ask your entire team to talk about that success story on social media. But what we're going to talk about today is showing off the upcoming Adobe Max event.
Yes!
Right? We're going to show off how to use Adobe Express to build some great custom assets for that event, and then how Agorapulse can help you distribute that content.
I'm so excited. We have so many of you guys in the chats that seem so excited for this stream. We're so excited for you to be here. I want to take some time to say hello to Keys, Robert, Voodoo Val, one of our faves, Darlene, Nicole. Thank you all so much for being here. And if you have any questions for Mike or I while you're watching, feel free to drop them in the chat. But we're going to jump right over into my computer to start. And we're going to create some social assets that can be used, including a LinkedIn post, which we're going to need.
Right.
Amazing. So for those of you who are brand new to Adobe Express or just tuning into our Adobe live streams for the first time, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. And any friend of Agorapulse, and Mike is a friend of ours. So with that being said, Adobe Express really is for everybody and their mother. It is one of the easiest programs to design on, whether you have design experience or not. You're going to find this platform really easy to navigate through. And as we're kind of moving through the motions, if you see me do anything and you're thinking to yourself, wait a second, how did she do that? Can we backtrack for a second? Just drop it in the comments. We both have our eyes there, and we'd be more than happy to show you the steps. So up on my screen here, you'll see I actually have already a bunch of Adobe Max assets that have been created for our upcoming Adobe Max event. And I pulled this up because I actually really, oh, and there's me. Look at that. I really wanted to follow along with the same vibe branding that we have for the Adobe Max event and landing page. And I really want to pull in some of the pieces that have already been used here. And because this was already created by our team, why not work smarter and not harder? Pull this up and we can show you how to play around with this. So when you are in any page of an Adobe Express, I want to call this a project, you can actually resize your graphic, your page, into a completely different size while staying in the same project. So you can see we have like some video covers here, then we have Instagram stories, and we have Instagram feed posts all within one document.
That's
so
awesome.
It saves you from having to kind of bounce between a million different projects or having a million different files that you're trying to navigate through. So I'm going to go to the end, and really what I'm going to do is first start off and resize this. And we're actually going to look specifically for, I think we might have LinkedIn here. We should. LinkedIn post. Perfect. That's what we'll need, right, Mike? Perfect. Yep. So we're going to go ahead and hit the resize button. And this is going to bring me into a brand new page. Maybe I'm in. Hold on a second. Where did I go? LinkedIn post. Resize. I think we're actually in the exact same project size. So let me do this on a different page to show you that a little bit better. So go back down to LinkedIn, resize. Here we go. And then it brings you right with the same assets, brings you into a new page with all of your assets already there. So I'm going to get rid of anything that I don't need here. And I think what I'd like to do for this is maybe create a graphic that says we'll be streaming live at Adobe Max. So let's create something fun here. I'm going to start by bringing this text up a little bigger in size so that we can play with this. If I'm right, I believe it's the Max conference floor that we're going to be streaming from. So, oh, hold on a second. Change this to Adobe Clean.
And the great part is I'm learning right alongside all of you. This is fantastic. I'm so excited.
Okay, so join us live as we stream from the Adobe Max conference. I am always the worst person to type on live. That's how you spell conference, right, Mike? Conference?
E-N-C-E.
ENC, perfect. Conference floor now, amazing. We'll go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Have you used Adobe Express before, Mike?
Only very little. So like I said, I'm very excited to see how this actually works today. It's probably been a long time too for me.
I think anybody that's new to Adobe Express, like anything, it's going to take you a little bit playing around to get used to it. But once you kind of are able to figure out where all of those fun buttons are and really figure out what works for you and the features that you love best, I think, like anything, you'll get it like the snap of a finger, which is perfect. Okay, so I think I'm going to bring this down here. When it comes to, I want to say, brand advocacy and LinkedIn, what are some of the most successful campaigns that you've seen run on there?
Oh, gosh. Well, one of the best things you can do as a brand is get your employees to talk about your brand, not the product. You don't necessarily want them selling. What's cool is if you can get them talking about what it's like to work at your company, maybe if there's a position open, and that actually leads me to probably the most successful kinds of campaigns I've seen, where, let's say you've got 100 people in your company and you've got multiple departments. You can ask all the people from one department to share a job opening from that department. So those are most likely people who are already connected with the best possible candidates for that opening. Like, let's say you're a SaaS company like Agorapulse, right? We've got, programmers and product engineers and so on. Those are the absolute best people to get talking about an open, QA position on the engineering team, right? Because they're already connected in that industry, and they might not have huge followings. They might not be using their channels for a lot of traditional influencer marketing, but they are definitely connected to other programmers and engineers and QA assurance people.
There's
and that sort
people
of thing.
in their network, right?
Exactly. So you're already reaching the best possible audience for that. We've run all kinds of experiments where we've seen really, really top-notch target hires come in as a result of advocacy campaigns used in that kind of a example.
I love that so much. And I definitely feel like LinkedIn's a platform I'd love to play around with more. I think that, I think you automatically think LinkedIn's a platform you go to when you're either searching for jobs or trying to build your career, not really trying to, promote or share things that you're doing within, your organization that are a little bit more everyday things, right? Speaking of that, how do you love using LinkedIn?
I love LinkedIn. It's terrific because I'm a writer. That's probably why I haven't used Adobe Express very much personally. I'm a writer. I'm a blogger. I've been that way for years. So being able to share what I'm thinking about in text is my preferred form of communication. So whether that's an actual blog post or a long-form LinkedIn post, that's usually the way that I personally operate. But it's been a fantastic platform for me over the years to kind of establish thought leadership, establish professional connections with other marketers and professionals in the marketing industry. It's terrific for that.
I love that. And I'm curious to know in the chat if you guys love using LinkedIn or how you use LinkedIn. Is it for your career? Is it to, again, develop yourself as a thought leader or as an authority within your niche? I'm really curious.
And Clever wants to know if she's a SaaS company. That's SaaS, not necessarily sassy. You could be a sassy company, but software as a service is a particular type of company.
I love that. So you can see now I've created another slide. So we have our one for LinkedIn ready to go. This is join us as we stream from the Adobe Max conference floor now. And now I'm also creating a little countdown sticker graphic, which can be used for Instagram stories. I love to use placeholder shapes.
Yes.
So I'm very much the kind of person that if I don't see the space where I'm supposed to add the countdown sticker, or if you work with a team, and I'm sure you feel the same way, that sometimes you need to have a visual cue of this is where the sticker goes. So for me, I always kind of add in my shape. That way it gives a little bit of an idea of where I want that countdown sticker going.
And templates like this are just so essential for really consistent branding. Again, particularly when you're working with employees or external advocates, they might not have a lot of personal use or experience or even access to tools like this. So if you can provide them with the assets that you want them to use that are already in line with your branding and your corporate look and vibe and feel, that's super powerful.
I love that so much. I think maybe we'll even do a little I'm speaking at Adobe Max kind of graphic that, again, that's something that brand advocates could use, or if somebody is going to Adobe Max, they could probably use a graphic that says, find me at Adobe Max, or come see me at Adobe Max, right?
And you can do video with this too, is right?
That's right. Okay. And I'll show you some fun animations. Okay. Oh, I wrote Adobe Max. Remember when I said I'm not great with typing on live, you guys? I also do this all the time. I think I'm going to steal this picture of myself. And that was before my bangs. I'm growing my bangs out. If anybody feels the pain of growing out their bangs, let me know. Say I'm not alone.
I don't have that problem.
I know. I was going to say. So I just dropped my photo in, and now I'm choosing the background remove tool. And very, very easy. Removed the background on the photo of myself. I think I want to place it just behind maybe. So I will send this to the back. And a little shortcut for this, it's such a game changer if you're somebody who is working on a Mac computer or you don't like going through a bunch of buttons trying to navigate how to send your layers to the back. You can press Command and then that little bracket, I want to say that's beside the P, and then you can see it sending all the layers to the back.
Wow.
And if you choose the opposite little bracket the other way, that brings it to the front. So I always love sharing that because it was such a game changer when I learned how to do that. And I was thinking to myself, like, where have you been all my life? Because although the layers in Adobe Express, like you can see them on the side here, they're really easy to navigate through. That's one of my favorite features here with Adobe Express is being able to literally drag my layers where I want them and not having to fight with the whole like right click, send back, like that thing. Because I'm very, I need things to be quick and easy and done in the snap of a finger. And this is one of the best ways to do that, I feel like. So we have this photo in of myself. I feel like this would be so cool if we added an animation and it kind of slid up from the bottom.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah, do it.
Let's play around with the animations. And this is something I feel like, again, like this could be posted in stories. So we could do a bungee. Maybe we'll pull the chat and see what you guys would like. Bungee, we could do like a little drift. It was like I slid right in. Did you see it? It was like sliding right in. A drop.
Slide into the DMs.
I know. A little rise moment, like the queen I am coming up.
I like that one.
Little tumble. There's so many fun ones. You can also do animations coming into the video, animations going out. So you could choose something different on the way out. You also have the loop option. So this is if you want your animation to kind of be ongoing. A slide in from the bottom, Val says, yes. This Bob, this is the ever so famous Adobe Express Bob, which I love. And then you could do a little jitter. Little shake moment.
Oh my gosh.
There's so much fun. You could get lost in all of these animations, I feel like, and half the time I do. I remember the other day I put in our broadcast channel, and if you're not on the Adobe Live Instagram and part of our broadcast channel, you need to join because it's so much fun. We have the funnest conversations there,
can
Mike.
imagine.
You need to, it's very unhinged sometimes. And I was saying the other day, I was literally, it took me like 2 hours to do one little social media graphic because I was stuck in the animation section. I'm like, which one do I like better? It's funny how that works, right? Okay, so I think we voted on the slide up, right? So maybe a rise up like that. Looks great.
Yeah.
And then if we want, maybe we can, once it does slide up, I don't think I want to do something to have it go away after the out. I think just having...
For this kind of graphic, you want yourself
just a slide.
the last thing they see.
Exactly. Good point. That is great. Look at you. You're a designer. But maybe
I'm a marketer.
I love that. So maybe we'll add just a little bit of an animation on the Adobe Max logo. That could be fun. Like maybe we'll do the bobbing on the Max logo. Let's see how that looks. I don't like the slide on all this stuff happening. Hold on a second. This is text being pulled in from me duplicating the graphics. If anyone knows, that struggle can be real sometimes. Okay, perfect. And maybe I won't have this one slide in. We'll maybe keep that one very simple. Okay. See, one more time. Still sliding. Let me remove that one. There we go. Okay, so here's what we end up with. Do we like the bob at the top? I wonder if it needs a little bit more space so it doesn't overlap the other one, I'm thinking.
Yeah. What I love is that you're doing a vertical video because we were talking about LinkedIn earlier. LinkedIn is actually favoring vertical video now, obviously like every other platform, right? But they actually have a dedicated feed. If you start watching a vertical video in LinkedIn, you'll get served other vertical videos. It'll look just like you're watching TikToks. You just happen to be on LinkedIn.com. So creating vertical videos like this and repurposing them for LinkedIn, you might have had Instagram in mind when you started this, right?
Right.
Use them on use them on LinkedIn. If it's under 60 seconds, it could be a YouTube short.
I love that. It's like making the most mileage out of your content. I'm all about that. I don't know about you, but it's like, again, the work smarter, not harder thing, I think is the biggest thing for sure. But now that we have I want to say some graphics. Question for you guys in the chat. Do you have any questions about using Adobe Express before I export our LinkedIn post and send it over to Mike so we can move over to Mike's screen and show how we can set this up as a brand advocacy campaign in Agorapulse, which I'm so excited for. Okay, so I'm going to export this and airdrop it over to you, Mike.
And crossing fingers this works.
Before I do this, make sure I don't have any extra text I don't need. It'll work. I have faith in us.
Nicole says she loves how the graphics are coming together. Her Mike says the Bob makes him feel drunk sometimes.
It's so true. Like, it's a love-hate relationship with the Bob, right? Okay, I'm going to airdrop this over to you, Mike, and then we're going to get Jacob to flip our screen over to Mike's computer to show you Agorapulse. Okay. Should pop over to you.
Oh, we got it.
I'm so excited. I think this is the most
exciting
part of the stream.
To see if this one little piece of technology, does it actually work? Cool. So that should be here. Let me just double check. Yes, I've got it in my downloads folder. Fantastic. Thank you, Brittany. So here we're going to look at the back end of Agorapulse, right? So just imagine you've created a campaign like this, a video, whatever you want to share as in terms of an asset. The idea is we're actually going to be creating a LinkedIn post, and then we're going to ask our advocates to go to that post and engage with it, because just like I was saying earlier with the Adobe Max example, if you can get your advocates to engage with each other or engage with your company post, that's going to just amplify it so much more. And if you get some of them to share it to their personal feeds, it's still the brand post that's being shared, but it's being shared through an employee or even an external advocate. So super powerful. Here inside of Agorapulse, like I mentioned, we're a social media platform. So you happen to be looking at our inbox, which has all the comments and mentions and that sort of thing coming in. But over here we have a feature called Advocacy. I'm going to load this up, and I'm going to walk you through some of the basics of setup and how this works. And then I'll show you the actual campaign. So this feature allows you to set up a list of advocates inside of the tool that you can ask to advocate on behalf of the brand. Now, you could ask them to share a link directly to their social profile, say an event or a blog post, or you can ask them to go straight to a social media post. So the first thing you actually have to do is set up those advocates. And the beauty of this system is you can have both internal employees and external influencers. So we were talking about that difference earlier, influencer marketing versus brand advocacy and employee advocacy. You don't have to pick, you can do both. So here we have, this is just a sample. We've got an Adobe Live account here, and we got some friends of ours from Adobe in this internal advocates list. And on the external side, it's you and me. We're the Adobe Live influencers today. And so you can see, we have internal and external up here, and then below that, you have a certain number of distribution lists. You can create all kinds of different lists. And this is where you can break out different segments of those lists. Like I mentioned before, that example of having all of your engineering team share a job opening in that department. Well, you could have them broken out as a list. And this, it's up to you what you call these lists. It's up to you who you put in those lists. So you could have lists for different languages. If you're a global company, maybe you've got French speakers and Spanish speakers and Portuguese speakers. You can have those all broken out as different lists. So that way you're sharing content that, number one, they understand, but number two, it's appropriate for their target audiences, different departments, different external advocates. You might have different kinds of influencers. You might have community leaders.
Right.
You might have major celebrity type influencers. Whatever you want, however you want to break that out, that's what you're going to set them up here. And after you've been using it for a while, you'll start to see what campaigns they participated in and so on.
This is so cool. So question for you.
Yeah.
Essentially, your distribution lists are kind of like in, I want to say the Coles notes or simpler terms would really just be categories of advocates that you have, right?
That's right. That's right.
So that's so amazing. So in Adobe's case, like maybe a couple ways that we could use this is, we have community leaders that are specific to Adobe Illustrator. We have community leaders specific to Adobe Express, like myself, specific to Premiere Pro, and we could really group these based off of the programs that we work with them on.
That's exactly right, because if the Premiere Pro team at Agorapulse or at Adobe wants to do a campaign about a new feature, they're not going to want their Illustrator advocates
That's right.
to share that out. They want you and the rest of that Premiere Pro team.
Or their illustrators are going to get that email and think, wait a second, this has nothing to do with me. And then they stop paying attention to the campaigns that go out, right?
Right. So one quick note here, you only need their email address to actually add them into the system. That's the technical. But at a higher level, you need their permission. Don't just start adding people into your list, right? Talk to your employees, let them know we're going to use this new advocacy tool. Talk to those external influencers and let them know, hey, as part of our relationship, every once in a while, we're going to ask you to participate in a campaign. And again, I'll walk you through what that campaign looks like in just a moment. But essentially what that means is if you build a campaign in here and you send it to your advocates, whichever ones you choose, they're going to get an email asking them to participate in the campaign. They don't have to have an Agorapulse account or anything like that. It's not going to cost you extra money. But they'll get the email, and that will have a button that opens up a landing page that will tell them what to do next. Either share a link, like a blog post, like I mentioned, to whatever social profiles they want, or it's a LinkedIn post, and there are buttons there to go share, comment, and like that LinkedIn post.
I love this so much, and it's funny because I think for anybody who's not tech savvy, this could sound super overwhelming, but you and I both know it's not hard at all. Anybody could do this.
Yeah, this was set up in minutes. Obviously, I know what I'm doing because I've been this for a while, but it really is truly easy. We set up the Agorapulse account for Adobe Live. I went into the advocacy feature. I clicked on Add Advocates, and that's adding them to a list. You can edit the list names, do whatever you want in moments. So let's go and start our campaign. So I'm going to go back to a menu here, and we'll come back to the results here in just a second, because that's the best part. You can see the results. But here we're starting a new campaign, and we're going to call this Adobe Max Promo 1, because maybe we'll do a lot of these.
I love that.
This is our first Adobe Max promotion. We'll see if I'm able to type.
I was just going to say, you're doing this like a pro, and
there's one typo.
I'm telling you, there's something about, you could be the best typer, and as soon as you're typing on a live stream, it's immediately no. Your grammar, your spelling out the window.
Yeah. So you pick a title that's going to mean something to you as the brand, as the advocacy manager. And this could be something that a social media manager does, a CMO does, anyone in between, right? There isn't necessarily a specific role within the company that is the one that's going to be necessarily in charge of this. And you put in a campaign description. You can put some internal notes down here. That's obviously only for internal. So if you're sending this to external advocates, they're not necessarily going to see these.
I love that feature. And to confirm, what you're putting in now, everybody that receives this email is going to be able to see this information other than the additional information, internal notes.
That's right.
Okay,
that's right.
Perfect.
So the campaign description, that's a good question, because this is where you could say something like, hey, we would love for you to engage with this LinkedIn post.
Right,
to help us promote an upcoming event. Or maybe we've got, like I mentioned before, an opening in the engineering department. We would love for you to help share this out and get some really qualified applicants to that role.
I love this. So in this case, if we're talking about the graphic that we just created, maybe this is a great opportunity to say, we're streaming from the Max conference floor right now. Join us by clicking this link, and you can learn more about all of the amazing new product releases that I can't tell you, but you're going to want to make sure that you watch that stream.
Right. So this is actually where I'm going to actually back out of this, because the one thing we want to do is actually create a LinkedIn post that's going to go out at that moment and have an advocacy campaign attached to that. So that's a slightly different approach that I wanted to show you guys. So here we're going to go back to our publishing, and this is, if you've used any kind of social media publishing tool, this is going to look very familiar. You choose a social post, social profile that you want to post to, and here we're going to come up with a caption. So you sent me the Max Live from the Floor graphic, okay, right? Mm-hmm. Join us live from the
Max Conference Floor.
Max Conference Floor where we will be. What are you going to do? What are you going to talk about?
We're going to share new product announcements, have
Okay.
exclusive speakers. I'm getting excited talking about this. And Nicole says, love how easy this was to create. And I feel like I couldn't agree with you more, Nicole. If you're somebody who's not tech savvy, I feel like you're going to love Agorapulse because the user face of this is so friendly.
Yeah. So we've got that, and I need to go grab your graphics. I'm going to upload from computer, and I know it's sitting there in the downloads waiting for me.
Also, can we talk
it
about the
comes.
fact that your downloads folder is so clean? Like mine is a hot mess.
Oh no, I can't have that. My desktop's clean. My downloads folder is always empty. So there we go. So you're already seeing on the right-hand side of the interface the preview of exactly what your post is going to look like. And I know LinkedIn's not your bag, so let me share a little tip for you. With LinkedIn, one of the things that you actually want to try to do is have a see more. So I'm going to do a couple hashtags down here.
That's so amazing.
Adobe Max, and let's just do advocacy for fun. So you can kind of see off to the right, there's a little read more link right there. That's almost a call to action. It's kind of subconscious, but folks on LinkedIn are trained to click that read more. Now, there might not be anything else really there. You know, maybe we'd put a link in. I don't know. We probably would, wouldn't we? We'd probably include a link. What link would we have? Like a YouTube link, maybe?
I would say our Adobe Max.
Max.adobe.com?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
I was going to say, too, it's kind of like almost subconsciously like getting people to pay attention and stop their scroll. And then when they do click that read more, they're now invested enough that they probably want to leave a comment, right?
Right. By the way, we do link tracking. Oh, we haven't set up link tracking because this is a new organization for Adobe.
Well, this is
Max.
fun. We get to walk through how it works.
So this is going to add UTM parameters to that link. And those are really important because we want to be able to know after the fact who did what. And so we'll do the social network automatically. Social media is the medium. The campaign is going to be Adobe Max. Perfect. And it's going to shorten and display the website's domain name with Pulsely. So this will end up being adobe.pulsely.ly/ a unique link. So this means that max.adobe.com link will be tracked.
Okay.
And that will follow through, and anybody that shares or forwards that, maybe they might send this post to a direct message on LinkedIn, which you can do. You can even add a first comment if you want to. I don't know what we would say, but that's an option there. So there's your post, right? And let's say we're going to schedule this because you went conference floor now. So when is Adobe Max?
I would say you're going to want to put this on the 14th.
On the 14th?
Is the first day.
And what time?
I mean, why don't we just say noon?
Okay.
We'll say noon for now.
Good deal. So this is going to go out at noon on October 14th.
Perfect.
So that's normal scheduling social media posts. Those of you watching from home, if you schedule social media content, very little of that looked unfamiliar. The difference here is we're going to go down here where it says advocacy campaign, and where it says no campaign, we're going to no, we want a campaign. We want those advocates to be notified. So we'll call this Adobe Max Promo 1, kind of what I was putting in the first thing.
And while you're setting this up, Mike, I think a great question that I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking is, why do you feel like at a high level it's super important to track every single thing when it comes to a brand advocacy campaign?
Oh, yeah, this is such a great question because if we're not tracking, we don't know what works and we don't know why. And that's a real problem for marketers when at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year, we're asked, why did we do this? Why did we invest in ambassadors and advocates?
Right.
Why did we invest in this event? Why did we invest in this tool? If you can't tie those activities back to any kind of revenue or performance metrics at all,
What makes it worth
then you
it?
said, I don't know. I don't know why we did that. I can't tell. Maybe you can see a spike in whatever, attendees or purchases or whatever it is that you're trying to drive it as a business. But if you can't associate with a specific campaign, then you don't know that that activity is worth it. And in this case, we want to be able to associate specific advocates with
Right.
specific end goals. We want to know not only who participated as an advocate, who shared it, who didn't, but what happened next. Right, you and I are both on this
Right.
list. If we do this campaign and we both share it, but you drive 60 people to the event and I drive a big fat 0, that's telling on behalf of the
Right.
brand. We're probably not going to want to work with Mike too much more. We're certainly not going to want to pay him because he's not successfully driving the kind of people we want to this event, whereas Brittany's just killing it. So that's the kind of thing that you want to have the insights in, and the only way you can do that is if you track every single thing that is possibly trackable. And in this case, we've got a link. It's super easy, as you saw, to track it, so we absolutely should.
I love that answer. I feel like you couldn't have answered better.
So just like before, we're doing a campaign name and a campaign description so that A, when they get the email, they're going to see that, and also B, when we go back into the reporting, we can look at that campaign and remember what that was for. You can set an expiration date if you want to, and in this case, I think we should, because Adobe Max is 3 days, so we'll
It
say...
goes from the 14th to the 16th.
Yeah, so we'll say by the 17th, if you haven't done it
Right.
yet, don't bother. It'll be too late at this point. And then here's where you can see all those different lists, and we're going to want all of them for our campaign. But again, if you had different kinds of ambassadors and advocates, internal, external, and so on, you can pick and choose which ones you're going to do. And if you just recently made a change to your list, you can hit refresh and do that. So hit save, and that's it. We now have an advocacy campaign that will send emails as soon as this post goes live on the 14th at noon. So we're going to hit schedule.
And everything
And
is
yeah.
done automatically.
Right. So you're not going to see that as an active campaign until that post goes live. In fact, you won't see it as draft either. It's just attached to that post, which I could go find if I wanted to in my publishing calendar. But what you guys see here is an example of a campaign that I started earlier this week, just for fun. Just had the 6 of us in there, so you're not going to see a lot of data, but you'll see some data, enough to understand what it was. We decided we're going to promote today's live stream. So there's you, there's me, there's Jacob. Where's Jacob?
There's Andrew.
Andrew. Where's Andrew? He's not supposed to be in here? So we had the 6 of us in here, and you can see, 100% were contacted. That should always be the case, but we do that so that you know if any of the emails have gone wrong, something's wrong with the email, it's not getting through. Most of us opened it. Most of us clicked through. Some of us shared it. Did you share?
I don't think so.
And we drove 9 visits, right? So
Okay.
already at a high level, you can see what this advocacy campaign was driving on behalf of the brand. And then you can drill down and see, okay, well, what really happened? What networks were actually driving some traffic? Strangely enough, Twitter. I don't know how
Isn't
many
that
of you are
funny?
using Twitter. We're not streaming to Twitter, but those of you, comment, are you still on X or Twitter?
Yeah, or what do you call it? X or Twitter? For me, it will always be Twitter.
Yeah, so you can see the traffic that was generated. You can see who your best advocate is. That's how I mentioned earlier, you can incentivize this. If you're doing a job search for an important role, why not incentivize your best internal employee advocates and say, hey, we'll do a $25 or $100 Amazon gift card
Right.
to whomever drives the most traffic and engagement to our job opening, because that's going to be worthwhile to the company.
I love that.
And then you can drill down and even see, all right, who participated, who didn't. Megan will give her a pass because she's traveling this week, and so she's been busy. But everybody else opened it, which is great. And you can see exactly who participated and who did what.
I love how it tracks that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
so cool.
that's exactly what you're going to be able to see after each and every campaign. You can leave them open. You can stop and archive them, do whatever you want to do. The other thing that I'll show you real quick is if you were sharing a job opening or you were sharing a blog post using that first approach where I started to show you just creating a campaign from scratch,
Right.
you can tell them exactly what you want to say. Right? So
Interesting.
I gave us suggested copy. That's what you can see right here. You can do 5, 10 different suggested copies if you want to give people lots of options and choices of what to say on their social media. You'll see that there. And then again, you'll see the internal notes down here.
I love that. And with I'm assuming with each of the suggested copies, great if you're trying to maybe get your advocates to use a very specific copy or caption. And I feel like a lot of brands nowadays run into legal issues as well, where certain things need to be disclosed, which I feel like this could be super helpful for.
Right. Like you might need to use a particular kind of hashtag. If you're talking about external influencers, talking about a branded product, then maybe you need to use the hashtag ad or hashtag sponsored. You might have multiple people from around the world that you're asking to participate in one campaign. So maybe you want to offer different language options. Like Agorapulse, we're based in France. So if we do a global campaign, you will always see English and French suggested copy, maybe also German and Spanish, depending on what the campaign is and who we're asking to participate. That just makes it as easy as possible for your brand advocates to participate in the campaign, because that's super important. If it's a paid influencer, they're going to do it. They're under contract. They're going to do it. But if it's an employee like me, you're asking me to share something on behalf of Agorapulse, what's in it for me? Why would I do that? Don't make it hard, right? Don't do a Slack message that gets, buried by 10 other Slack messages within 20 minutes, right? Put it in an email that they're going to be able to get into their inbox. They're going to be able to come back to it when they have time. It's click a button, go to the campaign, do whatever it is you're asking them to do, and then they're done. It's something that will literally take them a moment, like 2 minutes, really, and they will have done what you asked them to do and seen huge results on behalf of the brand.
I love that. And I think simplicity is key, and that's really what it's doing. So on the receiving end, do we want to show what this looked like when you received the email?
Yeah, so let me go into my email. We'll do that real quick.
We'll hide Mike's email from you all for a second. You guys don't need to see that stuff. Lots of Agorapulse campaigns, I'm sure, in there.
yeah, Agorapulse campaigns. Fortunately, everyone can be jealous. I only have 30 emails in my email inbox.
That would be great. Mine piles up a little bit. Are you guys somebody who leaves in the comments chat? Let us know. Are you somebody who keeps your email inbox cleared, or do you let it pile up and batch your, I want to say, time to filter through your inbox each week? Because I'm that person.
Oh my gosh. So we've got the email. We're ready to share my screen again. And so this is what you would get as an advocate. Again, whether you're internal, external, if you're just in a list and somebody sends you a campaign, it's a very simple email. Hello, Mike. You're a member of our advocacy program. Thank you for helping us spread the following content by sharing it to your social networks. Feel free to personalize the description to make this content even more interesting for your community. And then there's a big orange button. And that opens up a custom landing page that, I did not create this. It's all automatic, right? It brings in the title, the description's right there. Adobe would like you to engage with this content. And there you see the link. Now, in this case, it was a YouTube link. For this kind of campaign, it can be any link that you might want them to share. Just make sure that if you want them to go to an existing social media post, you do it the way I showed you the first time, right? Where you schedule the post in Agorapulse and you attach the advocacy campaign to that post. But if it's a YouTube video, if it's an event like max.adobe.com, you can just plug that into the link, and you can see here one suggested copy you can use. You can copy that content, and here I can open up Twitter or X. And for some of these, if the platform allows us, we will already have the first suggested copy pasted in it for you. Some of the platforms like LinkedIn don't actually, I think LinkedIn doesn't allow you to do that. But you can see that. Join us live from the Adobe Studio on Thursday, and so on. I'll close that. And the same is true for Facebook. It might ask me to authenticate. I might skip that one. We'll skip Facebook.
It's that
you all know what
two-factor
Facebook looks
authentication.
I'm on a new Wi-Fi, so everyone's like, yeah. So like LinkedIn, like I said, it won't pre-fill in the thoughts, but there's a little spinning window here. It is going to YouTube. It's grabbing the video. It's going to bring in the thumbnail in just a moment as a link preview.
I love that. And then it copies the text or the caption or the copy, if you will, to your clipboard. Right. So it's very easy.
I'm not going to post that because it's too late now. We're here. You're already here.
I love that. And I guess looking at it from this way, a couple other ways that really you could do this is, even if your advocates are not necessarily sharing this campaign, it's giving them the link to go and interact, leave a comment, support this post, comment on whatever it is as well, right?
Right. I'll go back into my email real quick and you can leave that up. It's okay. I'll show you. This is from this morning, an actual Agorapulse advocacy campaign, a real one that we did, where if we go here, it's going to bring a very similar looking landing page, but this one is for our LinkedIn post preview. This is a podcast interview.
It's you.
It's me. This is a video snippet that our social media manager posted to LinkedIn, and it was a scheduled content for this morning. And as soon as that posted, the advocacy campaign went out. This is for one of my other podcast, Social Pulse podcast, B2B edition, where I was interviewing Carla Johnson. And it was an amazing interview. We got this incredible 58-second clip. And you can see, obviously, this is what the LinkedIn post itself looks like. And below that, engage with the post on LinkedIn. And that's just a button that's going to take me to that LinkedIn post where I can engage with it. And here's a cool thing. I'm not going to go back and show you what a normal Agorapulse post looks like, but I can guarantee you it doesn't have 28 people engaging with it within like 2 hours of being posted. We don't get that kind of game on social media. So you can tell that the advocacy campaign is working. If I look through the reactions, I'm seeing a lot of faces that I know and recognize as fellow Agorapulse employees that are there doing what we asked them to do. And as I dig through the comments, I'm seeing not only internal advocates, but external advocates like Julie Riley and Melanie Boylan and so on. These are folks that are ambassadors for our Agorapulse brand, and we've had them in distribution lists. So a campaign like this, we ask them to participate. So we're getting a ton of reach and engagement with this post thanks to the advocacy campaign.
I love that. And I love, you can definitely see the difference in like having advocates or having employees or community leaders in our case that are really there to support and engage in pieces of content like this. And also from the outside looking in, somebody maybe would see this and think, wow, this brand really has a lot going on, which of course we do, but it just kind of helps establish that sense of authority in the space, which I think is really cool.
And that's why we started with Adobe Express, because you don't want people engaging with a LinkedIn post that doesn't look amazing. It has to have that brand tone and style and authority. It's got to be a great video. It's got to be a great graphic in order for not only the resulting advocacy to work well, but the advocates themselves, they're not going to want to engage with something that's like, meh. I've actually gotten that feedback before. And so we had to make adjustments. And some of the things we were sharing because in that instance, it was like a content match issue where we were asking advocates to share content that didn't resonate with them. But the assets matter too, right? So have a great video, have a great image like we've already demonstrated, and your advocacy campaigns will be that much more effective.
I think that's a great point. And honestly, like again, exactly like what Mike was just saying, we've seen the same thing. That content just performs better if you have killer graphics and assets to go with it. So if you are new to Adobe Express, even being able to upload your brand kit is another really, really cool feature.
Oh, yeah.
So that things are very accessible. And whether you have maybe a social media manager on your team, or you're somebody that's a one person show that maybe doesn't have design experience, you can still keep things branded and following your brand assets without having to go and find them all over the place all the time. While we have a few minutes left, Mike, I'd love to explore some of the other features in Agorapulse because, I mean, advocacy is, of course, your baby, and it's such an amazing feature, but that's not all that Agorapulse can do, right?
No, certainly not. We're a full-featured social media management dashboard. So, of course, you can schedule content and post content to all of your major social platforms. You know, this is our Adobe Live organization. So they've got Instagram, they've got LinkedIn, they've got YouTube. You can have Pinterest, TikTok, X, or Twitter. Pinterest, did I say Pinterest? Yes. Google My Business, and Facebook, and soon to be Threads. Right, so you can have 7, 8, 10 different locations in there and multiple profiles for each one of those platforms. And when you go to create a post, you can select all of them. You can queue them up if you create queues, which basically just are buckets that you want content going out, say every Monday morning at 10 a.m., and you want to make sure that you're hitting that schedule. That allows you to batch create content in advance and set it up in a queue. So if we're going to have a really great Instagram profile and we want to have a great looking grid, right, we can have an amazing queue of content ready to go.
Almost like a mini vault ready to pull from whenever you need.
Absolutely. And you actually have that here. We have a library where you can have all kinds of assets ready to go, graphics, videos, things that you're going to want to share on a regular basis. Because one of the misconceptions about social media is that you shouldn't repeat yourself. And that is so wrong. You need to repeat yourself over and over again. Right. So if you got a great video, you got a great post that worked really well in the past, share it again. You can, if you didn't have it in the content library at first, but you go back to your reports and you see that that particular post performed really, really well, duplicate it, throw it in your library, and get it ready to post again. And here's where you can see the cues and that sort of thing. But I mentioned reporting. You definitely need a tool like this to be able to show you how your past posts have performed. We're not going to have any metrics in here because we just created this organization like 3 days ago. But for those of you who did, if you've been using Agorapulse for a while, you've been on social media for a while, you're going to be able to start to track how your audience is growing, how your posts are performing, and how they're actually driving revenue to your organization. You have Google Analytics set up and you can tie that in and you can see how each post performs and how that makes you shine as a social media manager.
I love this. So like I was saying before, it really is a beast of a platform. And I feel like I feel like at this point, you really need to get in there and play around with it. So where do you feel like, and there's actually one more feature I'd love for you to spotlight, Mike, before we tell everybody where they can go and try out Agorapulse for themselves, because trust me when I say you want to play around with this, it is a beast of a platform. But there's a place where you can add, if you have, let's say, 5 different links you want to share, somewhere where you can create and add those, right? So how do you do this in Agorapulse? Wink, wink.
You mean on Instagram?
Yes.
Yeah. So what she's talking about is, as most of you probably know, if you've shared content to Instagram, it's really hard to drive traffic. So hard. It's cool because if somebody comes to your website from Instagram, they had to work to get there. And so they want it, whatever it is. But we're conditioned to have one or more links in our profile, in our bio.
Right.
And we're conditioned to add that link in bio,
yes.
or comment or leave me a DM and I'll send you the link, that sort of thing, because we can't put a link on an Instagram post.
Right.
You have the ability to create a link in bio page through Agorapulse. So if you have an Agorapulse subscription, this is included, and you can create a page, and this is just a kind of a demo of what it looks like.
It doesn't take long to set up.
No, it doesn't.
Do you want to do it together for
let's
Adobe?
do that.
And then you guys can see it in our link in bio after.
So you pick the Instagram page, pulselink.bio/Adobe Live. So that is the link that we would put into the Instagram profile for Adobe Live, and we'll create that page. So technically it's done. I mean, I can add here customizations, but technically it's done, which means now, from this moment forward, if we go in and we share like the graphic we just created to the Adobe Live Instagram page and we say, click the link in bio, there's a little toggle that I'll show you in a moment where it will then add that post to this custom page and allow us to view what that looks like. But you can upload a logo, you can put in the page title, you can add in a description, and you can customize the colors to whatever you want.
Which I love that feature because I'm all about staying on brand.
Yeah, and you can change this at any time, right? So maybe we go with the Max Red for now, but maybe there's a campaign in the future for Illustrator, and we really want to focus that, how all the Adobe products have their own unique color,
branding,
right?
Yeah.
We could just go all out and change everything to be that way.
I love that, and also I would have never thought of that. Yeah. I really would have never thought of that, and I feel like that is so unique and cool and such a cool idea.
I'm giving somebody an idea right
I know.
Now, right?
So when you see your link in bio, all these different colors all the time to match all the programs, you know why, and it came from Mike.
Yep. Do a little feature takeover there. So you can add other social channels, and you can add other kinds of buttons, like a website, a blog, products, whatever you want to do, and save that. I don't have all those files on me, or else I would do that. But let's go back to the composer now, and here we're going to upload that image one more time. And already you can see some Instagram options down below, because we'll allow you to share to the feed, share a reel, or share a story. Although honestly, here's a little insider information. I'm pretty sure the real option is going away on Instagram, and it's just going to be videos.
Wow.
You see, they're going to share an image or a video. I don't think there's really going to be much of a differentiation between them two.
Right.
And here's where we're going to say, we're going to do that Pulse link in bio. And we want to do to max.adobe.com. And remember, we want that tracked just below.
I love that you can track literally everything in here. I think this is such a game changer for so many of us.
So you always have to say that because you want people to know that this post is going to be associated with a link in bio. You can do push to mobile notification. If you want to be able to do something from your phone, like add a custom sticker or something like that, you can do that. You can publish a first comment.
Which is great for hashtags if you want to
I
keep
was just going to
empty.
say that. Yeah. And we haven't, again, this is a new account. We haven't set them up, but you can have hashtag lists in here. So you could have a group of hashtags just for this event and just for this campaign if you wanted to, and automatically add them to the first comment. You can tag users. You can invite collaborators. You can tag products. You can do it pretty much everything that you can do from Instagram. From here, but the beauty is this, I can schedule weeks in advance. I can't do that natively. So
I love that.
Yeah.
This is so amazing. And then once this publishes, I'm assuming it goes right to your Pulsely, right?
Yeah, so this is going to publish in the Instagram feed just like you would expect, but then somebody who wants to go to your Adobe Live bio, and you've already put the link in the bio, they tap that, and that's going to open up a page inside of Instagram that has everything you've ever added to your bio from that moment forward.
This is such a game changer, and we even have Nicole in the comments that says this is such an easy platform to do everything in one spot while scheduling your content, which is so cool.
Yeah, and if you do it right and you get a lot of engagement, then you'll be able to see that in your inbox and see all the people. I mean, we just added this a couple of days ago, and there's already 480 comments on the Instagram Live or the Adobe Live community. So you guys are really amazing. You're obviously engaged, which is awesome. I love seeing that. If you want to know more about the advocacy, we've got a special URL you can go to, agorapulse.com/ oh, I'm in there. Let me get down really low.
There you guys go.
Advocacy-AE.
The mods will drop this in the chat for you as well. Mike, this has been so incredible. Is there any last minute thoughts or anything that you'd love to share before we officially close off this live stream? But don't go far because there's still design goodness.
Yeah, just remember how powerful advocacy is, whether you're working with employees or influencers. So take that time to set up that program. Work with amazing people like Brittany and get those people outside of your organization or even within your organization talking about the important events that are going on every day at your company.
I love that so much. And you'll want to make sure that you connect with Mike on LinkedIn as your #1 go-to place, right?
Yep.
Amazing.